The Horror Eternal presents Bone of My Bones, Part 2. The story I am about to tell may seem at first nothing more than a bitter social satire, but it holds no such aspiration. It is simply a tale of relentless horror, and it's all true, every word. I felt the weight and tension of a group of people as they approached. The voices, female, gruff, raspy, raw from screaming. The old lady's voice coughed up. "That way! He went back that way! Hurry!" I listened as the clamor of the women and their heavy energy moved away. The blanket pulled back from over my head, the ragged elder's shockingly calm face staring back. "They're gone. Coast is clear, sonny." "Thank you," I sighed. The weight lifted from my chest. "What do they want? What's happening?" "Women, and they're pissed," she cackled. "I don't understand. What women? Pissed about what?" I asked. "All of them, apparently," she said. "I'm sure you can guess what they're pissed about." "I can't, actually. What do you mean?" "Well, it's a man's world, isn't it? The women are merely sharing space in the male domain, serving man in one way or the other. You know the story in the Bible. Adam was lonely and God took Adam's rib to create a companion, a creature with no agency of its own except to serve her genetic donor, her master. Okay, that's just a story. A ridiculous one. Women have all the rights of any man. Shit, in some ways, more nowadays." "Oh, really?" she glared. "So what are you saying? All the women are rising up, turning on the men?" "Children, too." She lowered her head. "What do you mean?" "I saw some of those same girls that just ran down the alley murdering their own children in the street earlier. One of them took a baby in a car seat, sat it in the middle of the road and ran it over, back and forth, again and again." "What the fuck?" I let out weakly. "It was horrible. Just horrible." "What about you? Why aren't you doing the same thing? You protected me. Why aren't you with them?" I asked. "It's funny. I don't remember a lot of the last 5 years. I started forgetting where I was, who I was. There were always voices. So many voices. I think I've been out here yelling at those voices all that time. But last night, I had a fever. I was sweating. I threw up what little food was in my stomach and my skin burned." She took a few steps toward the center of the alley and looked around. "But when I woke up this morning, I remembered my name. The voices were silent, gone. Everything was clear." "What is it?" "What is what, son?" "Your name. You remembered your name." "Angela. Angela Hooper." "Thank you, Angela. If it weren't for you." "It's okay. I have a son about your age. Haven't seen him since my mind started to go." "Do you remember where you lived? Where he lived? Your family?" "Yes. Now that you mention it, I do. It's a good ways from here. North Cross, in the suburbs." "Maybe we can help each other, Angela. You see, I'm trying to get to someone too. She's in the city, on the way out to the suburbs. We could get her, then head to North Cross, find your family, get out of the city, away from the madness." "She?" "Yes, she. My girlfriend." She's a woman, son. That doesn't seem wise." "I was just texting her before all this started. She was fine. I need to get her out of the city to safety." "I'm afraid she's gonna have this disease too. What did you say your name was?" "Callum." "She's gonna have this disease, Callum." "What do you mean by disease?" "The way these women are acting, it's not rational. It's not a reaction. I had it, like a virus or something, only my brain was all wrong and somehow it affected me different. If she's in the city, most likely she has it too." I talked to her. She seemed like herself. Here, I'll text her now. I hit Rosanna's text chain and quickly ran off. "Something's happening downtown where I'm at. Everything okay where you are? Have you seen anything online about it?" A tense 30 seconds later. "Oh my God, are you okay? What's going on? Everything's fine here. Haven't seen anything online. What is it?" I held the screen up to Angela. "See, everything's okay. Whatever's happening seems to just be down here." Angela squinted at the screen and shook her head and grunted, doubtful. I sent off a response to ease Rosanna's fears. "I'm okay, don't worry. On my way." "Angela, please, I need your help getting out of here." "Yes, you do." "So you'll help? We can find your family." "I'll do what I can." "Thank you, Angela." We decided to wait for nightfall. Hopefully the darkness would make it easier to pass unnoticed. I let Rosanna know I was going to be held up. She said she'd looked on TV and they were talking about a riot that was happening downtown. I spent my time hiding under the blankets that had saved my ass earlier, while Angela went out to find a grocery cart to aid in our escape. The sounds I heard as the day dragged on were unsettling and at times unbearable. Screams that went on for hours on end. Slow, painful torture. Loud crashes, windows smashing, the maniacal echo of female laughter playing like a soundtrack above it all. When the darkness finally held the calamity in its cold embrace, we set out, myself tucked beneath the blankets at the bottom of a shopping cart, Angela pushing as best she could, slow and erratic. I took advantage of a small tear in the thick blanket and hollowed out a perfectly concealed eye hole through which to keep a lookout for potential threats. Didn't want to be caught blind if things got dicey. Angela was frail, couldn't count on any physical help from her. The first block or so was mostly deserted. Several fading bonfires dotted the junk-strewn street. I saw office furniture, car seats, tires, the burned-out husks of automobiles, and what looked to be human remains in the smoldering ashes. Several small groups of young women rushed past us screaming and making guttural sounds I could only liken to primitive war cries as we creeped up the block, struggling to get around the debris-laden street. They ignored Angela. At the intersection of a main thoroughfare, we came upon a large gathering of excited revelers. I recognized their savage whoops and vicious cries of blood-curdling excitement from the long afternoon. Several groups were gathered in different areas along the block. Stacks of what at first appeared to be large hunks of meat revealed themselves to be mutilated bodies, all of them men, stripped nude and relieved of their members. There was a tall pile of the orphaned phalluses where each of the groups congregated, hacking and ripping at the corpses, adding to their fleshy victory monuments. I breathed an audible sigh of relief when we reached the end of the block and crossed over to a smaller side street. We were moving away from the city center now. The streets were quiet, no sign of attacks and violence. A few cars rolled slowly by. From my vantage point in their headlights, I couldn't make out if the drivers were male or female. We passed 3 or 4 blocks when the staccato cracks of gunfire shattered the calm. As the shots grew closer, we came upon a police car stopped in the middle of an intersection. The lights were flashing and the doors open. An officer stood a good 10 feet from the vehicle, firing their gun into it, stopping to reload at one point and continuing. Angela struggled to force the cart up onto the sidewalk to make some space between the commotion and ourselves as we passed. Coming up on the situation, I could make out a female officer. Short cropped hair, older than I was used to seeing on the streets. She was firing into the vehicle, blasting the body of another officer that appeared from what was left of him to be a large black man. The officer paid no attention as we ambled past, just calmly reloaded and continued to fire. When we were halfway up the next block, a loud racket broke out from the way we'd just come. The tap-tap-tapping of more gunfire. From my position, I couldn't see the source of the barrage. The cart rolled to an abrupt stop. "What is it?" I called up to Angela in a loud whisper. She tugged hard on the cart and the street behind us swung into view. "Men!" she said. I watched as several men came out into the street, trading gunfire with the officer. She moved from one side to the other, her back fortified against the cruiser. She raised up and let off a volley. One of the men went down. The other man moved back to the corner of the alley wall from which he'd come. The methodical cop pressed her advantage, moving toward him, shots pinning him behind the wall. A sudden burst of pops and bangs crackled out from the other side of the street. She twitched and jerked and collapsed like a rag doll face first into the pavement. Then another small group of about 5 men flooded out to the street from the direction of the gun bursts and began kicking and taunting the lifeless corpse. "Angela," I wheezed, struggling not to cough. "Turn us around. We've got to get out of here." The wheels squeaked around and we slowly began moving up the street again. The bravado from behind us quickly disappeared into the distance, signaling that the posse was moving the other way toward the madness we'd left at the center of town. We continued slowly up the mostly deserted streets until finally we reached Rosanna's block, the canopy at the entrance to her building gaining slowly in the distance. We rolled to a stop at the steps and I lifted myself up from the pile of blankets, scanning the street around us before climbing out. "Thank you, Angela. I'll run up and get her." Be right back. It's awfully quiet. No lights in the whole building, she pointed out. I hadn't noticed, but she was right. Lights appeared to be out on the whole block. I looked up to Rosanna's window on the 4th floor, light flickering against the drapes and the ceiling. She's there, I pointed out to Angela. Angela looked at me and shook her head, a worried frown on her cracked lips. I nodded and lurched up the steps to the entrance. The door had been propped open with a battered umbrella. I slipped inside, keeping the umbrella lodged in the frame, and headed up the stairs. I stepped onto Rosanna's floor. The sudden rattle of a door latch clutched at my pounding heart. My gaze met another pair of eyes in the shadows staring back from a cracked open door frame. It wasn't clear if it was male or female, the stare vacant, neither hate nor fear. I kept moving to Rosanna's door at the end of the hall and tapped lightly. There was a soft shuffle from inside, wait at the door. Then the latch slowly opened, careful not to make a sound. Rosanna's face appeared, slightly haunted with the barest smile of relief etched into the shadowy grooves. "Come in," she whispered. I obliged her request, considering it better to explain the plan inside where we wouldn't be heard. My heart jumped as I felt her fingers slide in around mine. Then she led me across the room to her bed. Her figure shimmered through the sheer nightgown, illuminated by the light of a half-dozen candles set about the room. On the nightstand, dresser, several scattered around the floor. As her long legs folded down onto the bed, I began to speak. "Rosanna, we have to go." But she cut me off with a curt but gentle shush. She took my other hand and guided me down to the edge of the bed beside her. "I'm so glad you're here. I was worried you wouldn't make it. Worried I'd miss my chance. I'd never get to tell you," she trailed mid-sentence. "Tell me what?" I asked. "How sorry I am for the way that I've been acting, for pushing you away," she said, the light flickering off the moisture in her welling eyes. "Honey, it's okay. I'm here now. That's all that matters," I consoled her. "But we've got to get out of here." Once again, she cut me off, insistent. "It's just that I felt so strongly. I was falling hard for you, and it scared me. It just happens to me that way. When I fall in love, something happens inside of me. It's a fear of abandonment, I think." The admission made me forget our situation, took me out of the horror, and bound me in the moment with her words. "When I fall in love." I raised my hand and placed it softly on her shoulder, and she rubbed her cheek against it. "My father was never around. He came in and out of our lives so many times when I was growing up. He'd show up, and as soon as I began to feel safe, he'd be gone again. And the last time, when I was a freshman in high school, it was permanent. I never saw or heard from him again. Apparently he moved to Australia or something. When you grow up like that, well, I get scared." "It's okay. At least you have a handle on it. Understand it's a thing. You're light years ahead of most," I said. "Most people are all twisted up inside and don't even know it. You wouldn't do that, would you, Callum?" "What, hun? Leave me?" "Of course not." I began to feel uneasy at the comfort we were falling into on the bed. She leaned in and kissed me. Thoughts of the day's events rose up, making me anxious. "Okay, hun, we need to get going." Something shifted in her eyes. "You're leaving?" "No, we're leaving. Together. I came to get you. We're going to get out of the city." "We? You brought someone with you? Others?" "Just one. An old lady that helped me get out of downtown." "A woman?" "Yes." "How can you trust her? I read some people talking online before the power went out, and it was women, specifically women, doing the killing." I nodded, more images from the day flashing in my head. "It would appear so. That's why we need to get out of the city." "But she's a woman." "I know. She was schizophrenic or something, but whatever happened to all the other women fixed her head. I know, it doesn't make sense, but she saved me, so I know she's good." "I don't trust her. What if she gives me what all the others got? You said she had it." "Rosanna, we can't stay here. That mob is going to make its way up here at any moment. We need to get out of the city." She tightened her grip, pulling her body hard against mine, her face to my face, eye to eye. We didn't speak. Then she kissed me long and hard, her tongue reaching desperately for mine. Her hands moved up and down my back and to my hips and to my belt. She grabbed it and yanked it loose. The passion and the violence of the day mixed badly in my head, and I pulled away, her grip desperately holding on. "Rosanna, we can't do this. We've got to get moving." She thrust her mouth against mine again, and I was forced to pull back, harder to break her grip. "What's wrong?" she said, a noticeable anger furrowing her brow. I took her hands and removed them from my shoulder and waist, stood up from the bed. "Honey, our lives are in danger. I just can't do this." "I knew you'd ruin everything," she hissed. "What does that mean?" "Nothing. It's fine. Rosanna, it's not you. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's just, you haven't seen the things I've seen today. We just have to go. Sure, I get it. I took a deep breath. She seemed to be calming down. Grab what you can carry. That's about all we have room for, I instructed, a sense of reason coming back to the situation. I noticed her bathroom and a practical concern jumped to my attention. I've got to stay hidden in the shopping cart. I should really use the toilet before we take off. I started for the door when she yelled out, "No!" But I was already turning the knob. I pushed the door open and it stopped suddenly against something inside. "You can't go in there!" she barked, her tone now twisted and dark like a woman possessed. I leaned in to look around the doorframe. There was a naked body on the floor, a man covered in blood, the entire bathroom doused in red. My eyes followed the trail of punctures, slits, and tears up the torso to the head. The face, a face I recognized, Chance, the guy she'd posted all over her socials after she dropped me, his cold, empty eyes staring into infinity. Fuck, I fucked up. I turned to find Rosanna standing at the edge of the bed, the glint of candle flames flickering off the blade of a large carving knife in her hand. He was gonna leave me, just like you. I stared back, silent. At this point, I knew there was no reasoning. Rosanna was gone. Whatever disease had infected all the women in downtown was in the room with me now. I wanted to make love to you, feel you inside of me when I stuck this blade in your neck. But no, you just had to ruin a beautiful moment like you always do, like men always do. Rosanna, I started, and now you want to leave me. Well, I won't let you. I sprung toward the front door in anticipation and she flew at me, blades streaking across the candlelight. A flash of blinding pain shot through my back and shoulder. My feet gave way and I stumbled, coming to an abrupt stop against the door. I steadied myself, raising up and turning back to face Rosanna as she stamped back and forth, grinding her teeth and making some bizarre growling sound with her throat. I could feel the blood running from my shoulder down my back, my shirt saturating. You see, Callum, you're looking at this like, oh, all the women went insane and they turned dangerous, violent. But that's not what this is. Not at all. This is nature making an adjustment. No different than what men have done from the beginning. Take by brute force, dominate through violence, subjugate with brutality. But things have changed over the millennia. You men today, you're not what you used to be. You've gotten soft, weak, lost your evolutionary advantage. All we're doing is flipping the script, correcting a Darwinistic misstep. It's not a disease or a virus. This is nature at work. My eyes tracked a blade in her hand as she paced and ranted. I didn't bother responding. Nothing I had to say was going to matter now. I mentally clocked the door handle just above my right hand, judging if I could grab it and unlock the deadbolt before Rosanna plunged the knife into my back or my head or God knows. Desperate, I sought to keep her thoughts occupied. Rosanna, how do you know all of that? About the others? What's happening? Her frantic pace came to a sudden halt, a pensive look on her face. Her expression softened, the shade of her familiar effervescence returning. I had a terrible fever last night. My thoughts were rushing and confused, and I heard the words. So many voices in my head. Angry, oppressed, screaming, demanding. The confusion on her face triggered a reflex in me. I bolted forward, throwing my shoulder into her chest and sending her flying back into the dinner table, knocking a chair to the ground and loudly jolting the cups and plates. A vase of flowers launched into the wall and came crashing down. It all happened in an instant and my stomach turned to knots as she ragdolled to the floor. I swung around and grabbed the deadbolt, turned the latch and pulled the door, but it didn't move. I fumbled for the knob lock and twisted and pulled again. This time the door gave way, but before I could open it wide enough to slip through, my ears were split by the ring of a banshee wail as the weight of Rosanna's body slammed into me, sending a sting of intense pain burning through the base of my neck as my head and torso met the frame. I reached for my neck and felt warm blood gush against my palm. Suddenly, the door swung into me, some force shoving it into my bloody back. I let out a yelp just as it pushed again, harder, forcefully, and Angela's wiry form burst through the opening and launched right over me, bringing down a large bat that struck Rosanna's clavicle just as she attempted to lurch forward with a stabbing gait. A sickening crack echoed through the room and Rosanna folded. I squinted through the agony, watching as the old woman furiously raised and smashed her club down on Rosanna's skull skull again and again and again, until there was no skull left to smash, just a pulp of meat, bone, and hair swimming in a black soup of coagulated blood. She stopped for a moment, her body heaving, then let out a scream of animal ecstasy and began working on the rest of what had been Rosanna's body with the rage and fury of a rabid beast. I sat up and watched. Gone was the frail octogenarian with whom I'd creeped up the streets and sidewalks, replaced by the very madness we'd sought to escape. If you have enjoyed this program, please like, review, and share. Spread the word. Help us build an audience to change the future. The Horror Eternal presents Bone of My Bones, Part 2. Written, produced, and performed by Roy Burdine. Sound design and mix by Mark Labib. The Horror Eternal and We Are Not Dead are copyright 2026 Roy Burdine. This has been a Spiral Opus audio production. Also from Spiral Opus, don't miss Mindraker, Background Anger, the story of a psychic assassin on a mission from God. Season 1 available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Monster Forge. We make monsters.